There are many ways we can classify worlds in the Imperium, but my personal favorite way is what's called the no thank you I prefer my skin attached to my body scale. This highly sophisticated scale ranks worlds in the general likeliness of losing one's skin. Coincidentally, these worlds also rank as some of the less ones. Many atomic tech priests have scratched their oversized metal foreheads as to why this is. As for the administratum, they rank worlds in a slightly different scale. The main classes are agri-worlds, civilized worlds, dead worlds, death worlds, hive worlds, feudal worlds, research stations, forge worlds, and fair worlds. It's important to note that it's possible for worlds to fall into multiple categories. For example, Mars is a forge world and also a hive world, with an argument to be made for it being a death world and or a research station as well. In any case, let's look a little deeper into each class. Agri-worlds are worlds dedicated to farming. They often supply nearby worlds with food. This is considered part of the tithe or tax that the Imperium demands. If you're thinking, oh yeah, that's not that bad, do some farming for the rest of my life, fulfilling work, plant some nice green crops, and I get natural sunlight, think again. Most agri-worlds are heavily polluted with atmospheres filled to the brim with toxic substances. Not a pleasant environment to live or work in. Next on the list is civilized worlds. No, this doesn't mean that they are civil, it just means they look kinda like Terra did some 38,000 years ago in the 1900s. Think cities of industrial-looking buildings and some farmland as well. These planets are often self-sufficient. If you could choose where to live, these planets should be near the top of your list. Many of these worlds can be categorized further into subclasses, which we will cover later on in this video. Dead worlds are dead. No one lives there, no one has been there in a long time, they often don't have atmospheres, moving on. Death worlds would try their hardest to kill you. Harsh planets, some filled with creatures straight from your worst nightmares. You can survive if you're strong and lucky, and even then, only if you can run faster than your friends. Sometimes the climate will try to kill you, sometimes the flora and fauna. Katachan is an obvious death world, insert Australia joke here. A hive world is a world with a hive city on it. In almost all cases, the rest of the planet is covered in barren, irradiated wastes, where almost no one survives. The consequences of thousands of years of pollution. Due to their abundance of people, many of these worlds are recruitment worlds for the Imperial Guard, Navy, and or the Space Marines. You can find a more medieval setting on feudal worlds. The culture of such worlds is even more primitive than civilized worlds. Riding horses and owning castles are commonplace. They frequently have lower tithes because their technology does not allow them to produce large amounts of supplies. The more barbaric setting is considered a good source for new recruits by many Space Marine chapters, who favor humans with more of a warrior spirit. The next one is not technically a world or planet. However, research stations are considered important enough to have their own classification. Their necessity and purpose are rather self-explanatory. Frequently orbiting planets and in some cases existing on planets, these stations house anywhere between 1,000 to 500,000 population and do not have to pay tithes to the larger Imperium. Listen up, because the next one is actually important. Forge worlds, the place where titans, tanks, and everything else that's important is made. Filled with tech priests and Skitarii and other AdMech personnel, many of these worlds are barren wastelands outside of their forges and hive cities. Their oceans boiled away a long time ago, thanks to massive forges. Governed directly by the Adeptus Mechanicus, you probably don't want to live on these worlds either. Alright, last of the main classes is Feral worlds, which are worlds where the people have progressed so far they're now cave people. Hunter-gatherers roaming around their planet in clans and such. These worlds are sometimes used as Space Marine or Imperial Guard recruitment worlds with relatively low populations and low tithes. There are a handful more classes that can be used in further described planets. Space Marine homeworlds are worlds that feature the Fortress Monastery of one of the Space Marine chapters. They are often recruitment worlds, and many are near important planets or systems that cannot be allowed to fall. Gardener worlds and shrine worlds are worlds governed by the ecclesiarchy. Expect to find many religious temples and shrines on their surface. They are entire worlds dedicated to worship the Emperor of Mankind, whether he likes it or not. If you need a world to never fall, turn it into a fortress world, like Cadia, before it fell. There's a further subclass here called Hub Fortress Worlds, which were created by Rabute Gilliman during the Indomitus Crusade. These worlds are fortress worlds dedicated to gathering resources to continue the crusade. Industrial worlds are civilized worlds with a lot of industry. Mining worlds are worlds with mines. Night worlds are planets home to a night house. These planets are commonly feudal worlds, which explains why many night houses have a very medieval culture. Paradise worlds are worlds that are particularly beautiful, luscious green meadows and pristine lakes. I say we send Dante and Gilliman here for a while. They also have a peculiar habit of exploding and becoming dead or death worlds. Lastly, we have penal worlds. they're planet-sized prisons. We can also classify worlds based on climate, geography, or topography. Mainly, there's desert worlds, ice worlds, jungle worlds, ocean worlds, and gas giants. Some notable ones are Catachan, which is a jungle death world, Jupiter, which is a gas giant and a forge world, and also a mining world. In this case, they are gathering gases as a resource and not actually mining. And Fenris, which is an ice world, space marine homeworld, and death world. We can also classify worlds based on their ties to Xeno races or chaos. Demon worlds are worlds infested and corrupted by chaos. Exodite worlds are worlds infested by Eldar. Populated by Eldar. Tomb worlds are Necron worlds whose alarm clock hasn't gone off yet. And honorable mention to Tau worlds, which are dead worlds, they just haven't been exterminated yet. The Imperial tithe, simply put, is how many materials the world owes the Imperium, as well as the nature of these materials, sometimes also referred to as Terra's due or the Grand Harvesting. It is often crushing, leaving few resources for the world itself, not to mention how many resources will be lost in transit. Two types of tithe are asked of every planet. Military tithes. These resources consist of humans and they go to the Imperial Guard and the constant war the Imperium wages against Xenos. And the Exacta, which includes all other resources, riches, food, building materials, and such. Tithe classes go from aptus non or adeptus non, which means the world is exempt from all tithes, to experima, which is the highest. I found only one such world, the world of Equinox, an industrial world in the Graia system. Tithes will be paid through the planetary governor, and failing to deliver the tithe will obviously result in heavy punishment by the Adeptus Terra. In some cases they will even see the planetary governor killed, in a shoot first ask questions later kind of approach. As long as the planetary governor can pay the tithes, they can rule their world in nearly whatever way they see fit. There's one more form of tithe, one that is drenched in secrecy, the Black Ships. The Black Ships go to various worlds in order to pick up any psychers that are on that planet. They will be transported in horrific conditions to Terra, guarded by the Sisters of Silence, who are full blanks and a crew of people who show a particular lack of psychic ability. For a psyker, being in the presence of blank is excruciating. Many will not survive the trip, earning the Black Ships the reputation of dread ships. The ships will continue scouring the galaxy, going from world to world on a predetermined route. Once they are full with psychers, they will return to Terra, where some will be trained to fully fledged Imperial psychers, and some will be sacrificed to the Emperor and the Golden Throne in order to keep the Astronomicon burning. Space Marine homeworlds, worlds ruled by the Ecclesiarchy, Forge worlds, and some worlds that supply psychers to the Adeptus Astrotelepathica usually don't have to pay tithes. They have a tithe grade of Optus None. I hope you all got from this video what you were looking for. And remember people, tithe evasion is bad. The Emperor needs his sacrificial psychers so he doesn't die.